Which should you buy, M2 MacBook Air or M2 MacBook Pro? Some people might say choosing between a new MacBook Air or MacBook Pro is simple, and while that was true when the Air cost $300 last year, it appears to be much more challenging this year because Apple increased the price of the M2 MacBook Air by $200. In the episode today, we will discuss which should you buy, M2 MacBook Air or M2 MacBook Pro. It's confusing, so don't panic if you're interested in one of Apple's new M2 MacBooks but unsure which one to purchase. Despite having many similarities, there are several significant variations between the two devices. Let's get one big group of people out of the way. If you regularly use this device for work and your work involves tasks that are more demanding than Chrome, such as anything with the name of Adobe in it, you should purchase a 14-inch MacBook Pro with M1 Pro or M1 Max instead of one of these computers. These enhancements will make the more expensive laptops worthwhile because they are speedier, have larger screens, and have a wider variety of ports. However, if you fall outside of that group and are determined on an M2 machine, here's how to go with your choice. Of course, you should have a clear understanding of why you are looking for a new computer, what isn't functioning with your present computer, and what you want in a new computer before making any purchasing decisions. MacBook Pro versus MacBook Air price. The MacBook Air and MacBook Pro are only a little more expensive than one another. The price of the Air ranges from $1,199 for an 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 8GB of memory, 256GB of storage, and a 30-watt power adapter to $2,499 for an 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 24GB of unified memory, 2TB of storage, and a 67-watt adapter. The Pro has similar specifications to the base editions of the Air, starting at $1,299 for an 8-core CPU, an 8-core GPU, 8GB of memory, a 256GB SSD, and a 67-watt adapter. It likewise has a maximum price of $2,499. Configurations range in price as well as in terms of how they differ from one another. If you spec the two models as identically as you can, the price difference between them will typically be around $100. MacBook Pro versus MacBook Air chassis differences. The M2 MacBook Pro and M2 MacBook Air differ in a number of ways, some of which may or may not be important to you. The MacBook Pro weighs 3 pounds compared to the MacBook Air's 2.7 pounds. Even though the Air feels much thinner, I would say the difference is discernible but not drastically different. The MacBook Air is also available in Midnight and Starlight, while both MacBooks are available in Space Gray and Silver. The Midnight color should be avoided since it is extremely susceptible to fingerprints. The MacBook Air screen measures 13.6 inches as opposed to the Pro's 13.3 inches. Technically, the resolutions on the Air is a little greater, but the difference is barely perceptible. The displays of the two are identical in terms of brightness and color coverage. However, the Pro's is an IPS panel with LED backlighting, whilst the Air has a liquid retina display. The MacBook Air features a camera notch, and when your cursor travels through it, it will vanish. Therefore, even though the Air will provide you with more screen space to work with, the notch may cause problems for some menu bar apps. The top of the keyboard on the MacBook Pro contains an OLED touchscreen strip called the Touch Bar, whereas the MacBook Air has a row of traditional function keys. Online users have a variety of strong opinions regarding the Touch Bar. The Touch Bar allows users to access features like brightness, volume, emoji selections, Siri activations, and other toggles all in one location. But it's also slower for most people to use than conventional keys and is simple to unintentionally bump. The MacBook Air also contains a MagSafe power port, but the MacBook Pro can only be charged via USB-C, as one of the MacBook Pro's two Thunderbolt USB 4 ports will always be used while the Pro is plugged in. This effectively offers the MacBook Air an additional port. MagSafe connectors also readily pop out of their slots, making it less likely that someone will trip over your cord and grab the Air off your desk. The webcam on the MacBook Air is 1080p as opposed to 720p on the MacBook Pro. Although neither of them impresses me, the Airs do give me a more defined and less washed out appearance. A 30-watt USB-C converter, a 35-twin USB-C port adapter, and a fast-charge 67-watt adapter are just a few of the power adapters available for the MacBook Air. Only the 67-watt versions is offered with the Pro. The MacBook Pro only features stereo speakers with great dynamic range, whereas the MacBook Air has 4-speaker sound system. I can tell you that these sounds the same. MacBook Pro versus MacBook Air performance differences. The M2 processor and macOS operating systems in the Pro and Air are identical. However, this does not imply that they will perform equally because the Pro includes an internal fan while the Air does not. When machines are working extremely hard, they must prevent their processors from overheating. The Pro accomplishes this by activating its fan. It must cap its processor's performance lower than the Air does, since the Air is unable to do that. In real life, it implies that if you run large loads on the Air for an extended period of time, your performance will suffer. In our test, the Pro ran Cinebench R23 for 30 minutes without experiencing any performance degradation, whereas the Air's performance started out to suffer after only a short while. The Air also gets hotter than the Pro, although it doesn't get hot with Zoom calls, Chrome tabs, or the majority of web-based loads you'll experience. I'll stress that. However, if you use the Air for extended durations while running more demanding programs, you can notice some heat on the bottom or keyboard. In comparisons, even while using the Pro to record videos, I have never once noticed even the smallest amount of heat in the chassis, nor have I ever heard noise from its fan. In terms of graphic, Shadow of the Tomb Raider performed 26% better in our test, and Premiere Pro 4K export times varied by more than 2 minutes. Additionally, the Pro features a larger battery, which in our testing did result in longer battery life. The M2 Pro and Air last me, respectively, an average of 13 hours and 15 minutes and 16.5 hours of continuous use. Your results may differ depending on the task you're doing, but based on my research and those of others online, I would anticipate that you'll use the Pro for a few more hours. For 99% of the viewers watching this video and trying to decide which one of these two to buy, I would strongly encourage you to get the M2 MacBook Air because it is a brand new computer, whereas the Pro will be the next MacBook to be replaced, and it is a really outdated laptop. If you are worried about throttling, get the base M2 chip with 8 graphic cores because it will cost less and use no more power than the M1, and will likely perform just as well. This is the limit, and I'll see you in the next video. Right over there, click the subscribe button to help us accomplish our target of 1 million subscribers, and to see more videos like this one.